Hello to all my light workers, all my humans, and my galactic souls. Today I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to come onto here to kind of introduce myself as the leader of all light workers. In this time, we have all dropped down to this three-dimensional frequency to complete a mission that was assigned to us by God. That mission was not an easy one to assign. God had thought long and hard about a way in which we as a collective consciousness can go about bringing this frequency of Gaia into that of a different, higher vibrational, five-dimensional frequency. As the five-dimensional frequency had not yet been anchored into Earth's atmosphere, it would be an extremely hard task to perform, but not hard enough for God to manage. And so you see, it had then been decided that we would step into this great plan of the ascension itself. But it couldn't have been possible without the physicality of us light workers dropping down into this dimensional plane to anchor in that God consciousness that is so needed at this time. So in that moment of time, God teamed up with other parts of its consciousness to concoct this great plan that is essentially now the ascension that we're shifting into. And of course, in the beginning of time itself, it hadn't been decided that Earth would be of a higher vibrational field. But as time passed, as events progressed, and as events kind of unfolded naturally, it had been decided by the higher ups and by God himself that it was time for Gaia to experience that in which she was so ready to experience. She witnessed other planets go through the same process that she had been living for eons, for millions of years. And within all of those processes, she witnessed the destruction of those planets. In the end, the civilizations that had lived upon those planets ultimately diminished the light within, causing complete and total destruction of her friends, of her foe, of all of the planets in the galaxies and in the universes. A planet within the three-dimensional frequency is not an easy one to manage. It's not an easy one to live in. And it is a hard decision. It was a hard decision for her to drop down into this frequency and fulfill her mission of becoming the soul of Mother Earth. As she knew in her gut, she knew in her heart, she knew in her soul in that moment of time that one day she would see the end of her, the destruction of her, complete and total obliteration, as nature would take its course. As all life, all beginnings lead to an end of some sort, into a beginning of a new kind. But this time, within the history of all histories, this was the first time that a planet within the three-dimensional frequency field had decided that she no longer wanted to experience that, and that she needed to make what seemed like the impossible a possibility. And that's when God stepped in and decided to help, and decided that it was much needed within this time in our galaxy, within this time in our universe, within this time in our multiverse, that a civilization like ours could become front and center in the spotlight for all to witness. A civilization with the blueprint of negative and positive polarity that is in equivalent to the opposite. A civilization that is in much need of an evolution to progress and advance into its next level of consciousness. And that this civilization would drive forth the consciousness in all civilizations, in all negative and positive polarity planetary systems in the universes. And so began the grandest journey that you have ever witnessed and that you will ever witness within the multidimensional lifespan of your soul. Within the times that you've remembered, within the memories that you've downloaded, and within the memories that are suppressed because you're not yet ready to learn those lessons, to go through those lifetimes. And so you see, my friends, that was when I concocted this great plan to gather all of the light workers within this three-dimensional frequency, to band together as a team, to drop down into this frequency as the united force that we all are, and to help Gaia shift into her next level of incarnation, which is a frequency that is so high that all consciousness that makes it into this frequency will remember who they truly are, will activate their DNA to a level where they can allow more light, more love, more unity consciousness into their cellular structures to activate those memories that are so needed in this moment in time to help us lift this frequency into its next incarnation. And so you see, my friends, that is a story of why we're here, why we've all decided to drop down into this three-dimensional plane. It wasn't an easy decision, but we're here, and we're here with so much vigor, so much fire, so much strength in our heart to serve God in a way that we had never had the opportunity to serve God in all lifetimes past. Every single one of you have had lifetimes where you've ran missions, where you've anchored in the light into different levels of frequencies. Every single one of you have gone through reincarnations upon reincarnations of life and death, of birth and rebirth, to ascend into the highest frequency possible within the multiverse, within this projection. And that is why you have been chosen, and that is why you have volunteered to so bravely drop down into this three-dimensional frequency with me. And I just want to make it clear that as the leader of this group, we are a unified force. We are of one consciousness. I am no different than you, and you are no different than me. As we must so remember, once we activate our memories, that there was once a time that our consciousness was one, that there was no separation in between us. There was no separation of physicality of our bodies that made us believe that we are different than our neighbors. A consciousness that was so grand and that is so grand that it shall forever be remembered as the consciousness of God. And so you see, my friends, that we are all one, and we've been one to begin with, and we will be one forevermore. And we will be one from now until forever. I am so proud of the unified force that we are. As we all start to wake up one by one, we will become stronger as a team of light workers who are here on a mission. And our mission is so grand, our mission is so great, that not a lot of people will understand us in the moment. But just have faith in your heart, in your soul, that all of this is happening for a purpose, and that there's no other choice for other parts of our consciousness to follow along on this great adventure. Because there's no other direction that we can go but up towards God consciousness, towards unity consciousness, towards all that there is. As in the beginning, that is all that there was. And even now, as we sit in a state of separation, of feeling like we're so different from our neighbors, of living in our egoic ways, of feeling the time of pressure, and taking on that pressure onto our own shoulders, onto our own backs, as we've felt all along in this whole entire lifetime, that was a weight that we had to carry on our own. I sit here and tell you that weight was never meant to be carried on your own. Even in a time when you felt like, or when you feel like you've been carrying this weight on your own, it has always been a collective weight to carry and to be handled and to grow from and to learn from. as God has been there with you every step of the way, and God will never leave your side, no matter what frequency you choose, no matter where on the scale of dark and light you decide to land on in this soul's journey. Just know that in the end, the point of the game was always to make it back to the light, because there was only light to begin with. There's nothing else out there except to experience that of the darkness of our consciousness, so that the darkness can shine away for us back into the light that we are all made of. I am excited to begin this journey with all of you and to have my face out there, and finally to announce the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm on planet Earth, and the reason why we're all here. In the coming times, you will face a lot of prejudice, a lot of naysayers, a lot of people, a lot of other parts of your consciousness that won't believe in your mission, that won't believe in your message, that don't believe in who you are. But just remember that those parts of yourself, as we are all a part of all, they don't know better. They've just been lost for far too long. And it is our mission within this lifetime to bring them back home, to bring them back to God consciousness, to bring them back to all that we are, and to trigger those memories that are still ingrained deeply within, and to activate humanity to a point where the majority of them can make it into this ascension. But as I say that, I say not to worry about the rest, because at the end of the day, reality always has a way of fixing itself. The next incarnations to come will push those souls back into the bosom of God, because other planets will start to go through a similar process as Earth is going through right now. And Earth herself has traversed through this landscape as the first planet in the history of this multiverse to go through such feats, to ascend into a different frequency. Other planets are watching, and they're very close by. They're very close by in frequency, they're very close by in goals. They're looking down on her in admiration, as they know that one day this will be the same path that they will walk on. This is an exciting time to be alive, that we've all volunteered for, to be here, to join in on the ascension, to join in on the collapse of the illusion that we are not one unified front. I am here, you are here, and we are all here together as a unified force, as a unified consciousness, and never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of that idea that we are all one.